initiative from Noventum Service Management Consultants, HSO and Microsoft. Before getting into the content of the webinar, here are some guidelines for you. If all is well, audio is enabled for the presenters only. If that's not the case, you can still, we request you to to mute yourself. When it isn't working, when you can't hear me or whatever, I'm not aware of that, of course, but then please rejoin or use your phone dial to hear the audio. During the webinar, there is a possibility to raise a question via the chat function. We will have a look at that at the end of the webinar and then answer them. Of course, part of this webinar, and that's what we're very excited about, is that we have some guests. There is interaction with the guests, of course. And last but not least, this presentation is recorded for you to review at a later time as well, or to share within your company. Your hosts of today are Hilbrand Rustema, the Managing Director of Noventum. He will introduce himself later on as well. And my name is Erik Veldkamp. I'm a partner at HSO, and I'm active in the world of field service for more than 20 years. And actually, I always said to my wife, especially over the last couple of years when there was a lot of outsourcing, I'm glad I work in service, because that's something which is always done locally. You cannot outsource the service to a other country, really. You have to do that in your country. So I'm sure there is always business in service. Hilbrand, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Erik. So, Hilbrand Rustema, I'm the Managing Director of Noventum. Noventum is a very specialized company focusing exclusively on helping companies to guide their service transformations.
Thank you. We will introduce the guests a little bit later on. We were very excited to have guests in this webinar. The objective and agenda for this webinar is really to share the lessons learned from industry peers, so service directors, service managers, on one of the key challenges they are faced with by manufacturing companies today. Hilbrand will share the selected findings of that research, explain how the research was done, and then we will jump into the conversation with our guests to have them share their experience in today's environment. So Hilbrand?
Should I do this slide, Erik? Yeah, so a little bit about the research. First of all, it was led by two of my colleagues, Martin Gilday, senior consultant with Noventum. He used to be global service director, in latest capacity was with Electa, and Annick Perry, a partner in Noventum. Neither of the two persons could be available today, so they gave me the liberty to present something. The research was done through in-depth interviews with service business executives all over the world, and it was mainly focused on global manufacturing companies. And then with the findings, which was it's like a Delphi study, and then with the findings, we eventually did an electronic survey to get, let's say, the statistical validation of the key findings. Now, what you see there is, let's say, some of the key conclusions only, because there's tons of interesting information there. But the key things is that, we see worldwide, particularly during the COVID-19 crisis, we see that product revenue and margins are declining. But customers, they expect now full solutions. So just providing good products and even with services is not enough anymore. They expect complete solutions. Now, there are a lot of growth opportunities for service businesses, and there is a lot of, let's say, challenges that you would find on your way in developing and growing your service business. One of the key things that came out, one of the top challenges that we found with that companies said that developing new service business models. So what I mean by service business model is new ways of providing value, charging for it in a different way, delivering in a different way. So that's the biggest challenge, and that's the key topic of today, as we had to limit the number of topics that we can handle in one day. In any case, everybody that is participating in this webinar can find out more by actually downloading the research report. We have also made a podcast series and a blog series, so you can find all of that information either on the site of Noventum, which is noventum.eu, or on the website of HSO, which is hso.com. Yeah, maybe we go into the next slide, Eric. So the key finding here in that, let's say, the biggest growth opportunity that came out of this research is that development and deployment of the digital services that's really driving the profitable service business growth. Now, obviously, what we have seen in the past couple of months, we've seen that in some service businesses have struggled, but actually most of the service businesses have really thrived because companies all over the world, let's say the customers of manufacturers, they do need more, but maybe slightly different types of services. And one of the key findings in our research is also that manufacturers, they have a very unique competitive position because they have an installed base. More and more companies have the equipment in their installed base connected, and they can do all kinds of things with that data. The question is, what can you do with your data? I think we do conclude that, the data is key, but just having the data is not enough. So the key challenges that we would like to discuss today is that, how do you find out, how do you identify new digital business models? And eventually, how do you get those new business models implemented, meaning how do you transform the organization also to become really service-led? Yeah? So that's what we're mainly going to talk about. Eric, if you go to the next slide. This is a reference model. We call it in Noventum the service growth model, which shows that to the left you find a lot of what we call more traditional product-related services, where you see all these things that you will recognize: warranty, time, material, preventive maintenance, and availability services as, let's call them, business models to provide and to charge for your services, where you see companies are going from reactive, preventive to eventually becoming predictive in their maintenance services. But that's not where it stops. What is the more exciting part that we particularly want to talk about is the so-called proactive services that have very new and very different business models. So from process optimization, business transformation to value chain optimization, and particularly the last one is very sort of data intensive, knowledge intensive, and those we call customer business related services. It uses data, but more importantly, it uses the knowledge and experience that you have from working with usually thousands of customers, where besides being a technical specialist, you then as a company have also gathered all that knowledge about your customers' business and customer industry, and you can usually do a lot more with that, and that's what we call the proactive services. So some examples of that you will hear in a moment. Just to explain, one of the most important differences between product-related services and these customer business-related services is that, as you know, product-related services, they're simple, relatively simple, small. It's all about your technical capabilities. When you sell these services, you need to usually talk to people at operational level or managers at operational level. You typically have a vendor relationship, and your cost structure is typically cost-driven. Now, the customer business-related services is a totally new game, where your offering usually is very broad, complex, let's say a lot more intangible in the values that you provide. Your process and customer knowledge is key. Decisions are taken typically at the boardroom level. So the way to go to market and to sell these services is radically different. The type of relationship goes from being a vendor where you are easily replaced by others to becoming a lot more of a strategic partner, where once you have that relationship, obviously it's very difficult for customers to switch. And the most exciting part of this is the business model that you are seeing there, or most of the business models. You see a decoupling of effort and value. So you see that in this picture. Usually in the beginning, you do have to invest in the development of that new business model, but it's a bit like a software company business model. Once you got it right, it is hugely scalable, and typically you see then revenues going up, so very scalable in terms of delivery model, and then you see your costs, let's say structure, usually going down. So it's very little incremental cost with providing additional services. Yeah? So very exciting stuff. Let's talk in a moment about the examples with the guests.
Yeah, what you do see here is indeed, if you switch from product-related services to customer-related services, and you made a comparison with software business, there's the same switch from perpetual to subscription. Of course, there might be a potential gap between the cost level and the revenue level when switching. We hope to hear from the guests, which we are happy to introduce, to hear more on that and their experience in their industries. We have two guests today. We have Maaike van 't Hoen from company Knorr-Bremse from Germany, and we have Martijn Rijsenweber from Huisman Equipment, which is a Dutch company. Funny is that the German person has a Dutch last name and the Dutch person has a German last name.
That's why we selected for it.
But that's a coincidence, and we will talk English anyway. So let's do ladies first. So Maaike, please feel free to introduce yourselves as well as your company.
Thank you, Eric, and good morning to everyone. Yeah, my name is Maaike van 't Hoen. I'm heading the rail service product management department in the Knorr-Bremse group. Knorr-Bremse is very much the global market leader for braking systems and other substantial systems for railway and commercial vehicles. We have 29,000 employees in over 100 sites in 30 countries. So we are worldwide present, as Eric was saying, locally at our customers. Our revenue is roughly 6.9 billion last year, and half of it is actually generated through rail, and half of the rail revenue, roughly 1.5 million, is generated through the service. And our goal is actually to grow substantially in the service business. The goal is actually to grow above market average, and this is why we started in 2018 a service transformation journey together with Noventum to see how we can grow. we have challenges in the business. One is that, as Eric was saying, our margins are declining, and this is what we would like to somehow to prevent and to grow with new service models. And my team and myself, we are actually responsible for the whole service portfolio and also to identify and develop new service models.
Okay, thanks for the introduction. Martijn, can you introduce yourselves?
Yes, my name is Martijn Rijswebber. Welcome everybody. I'm the director of Huisman Services. And Huisman Services is under the Huisman Group umbrella. And Huisman delivers offshore equipment, such as drilling systems, pipe-lay systems, and large cranes. With the last 2 years, while the oil market is declining rapidly, the focus is very much on the wind turbine installation equipment. So I think that 90% of our market now is wind installation cranes for clients as Van Oort, Boskalis, Herema, etc. We have a revenue now of approximately 400 million with 2,200 people employed, of which 250 directly related to services. And I'm in the function of director of service for 2 years now, and I spoke with HSO and with Noventum a lot about developing new service methods. And for us, it's both ways. We like to get some more sustainable revenue out of services, but we also feel that we want a 100% return rate for our customers when they use our equipment.
Okay, thanks for the introduction. Roughly how many years of experience? You are 2 years in this role, but you have more experience in service, I assume.
Well, Eric, this coming Friday, I'm celebrating my 25 years anniversary with Huisman.
Ah, that's nice. And you, Maaike, how long are you at Knorr-Bremse? And now Maaike is not answering.
It's muted, I think.
Ah, okay.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I was muted, sorry. I'm with Knorr-Bremse for 4 years, and before that I was 10 years a customer of Knorr-Bremse, which is also a nice experience.
So we have a lot of experience on the table. We will go through 3 rounds of questions with you. The first is on the service and business model, then the value for the customer and the customer of your company. And then the challenges and lessons learned. So let's start with the first round, which is on the service and business model. But I'll switch off the sharing of the PowerPoint to see you really, instead of me sharing the PowerPoint. So the first question to you, Maaike, then to start with. What new services have you come up with or have developed to respond to, let's say, the developments Hilbrand shared in the introduction? Yeah.
Well, just to give you a rough idea of our historical grown service portfolio, it's more product services. We do 90% of our service revenue, so more than 1 billion in spares and overhaul services, repair services, and due to the reasons I explained earlier, we were really asking ourselves how we can transform and serve our customer better. And our question was more like how to become the business partner of choice for our customers. And with Noventum, we identified and developed 4 new services, which we are now piloting. It's a parts availability service. It's a guaranteed availability of our parts through a logistic concept, and data can help us to optimize our stock. And the one-stop shop solution, so that we are that our customers can have different service models out of one hand. Then the energy saving services to really optimize the operational costs of our customers. And last but not least, the operational optimization services. This is really a very integrated services together with the customer to find opportunities to optimize his operational expenses.
Okay, thank you, Martijn. Is there a lot in comparison with your company, or have you described different services?
No, well, we've described different services. You know, actually, the topics are very recognizable for me, but I'd like to highlight one, and this is our service engineers, which is a crew of approximately 60 to 70 service engineers, mostly situated in Holland, about 50 of them. They fly all over the world to visually inspect the cranes. A client has to inspect all the equipment bi-yearly and make records of that. And each 5 years they also have to do that to prove to Glass Society that the equipment is fit for purpose. And so for this, we fly a lot of service engineers around the world. And based on that scope, we developed a fully automated drone inspection, and we trained artificial intelligence to recognize defects from the photographs the drones are taking. So the drone flies a predefined path along the crane boom and the crane house, takes hundreds of photos, and those photos are uploaded in a database where a smart computer with artificial intelligence recognizes corrosion, deformation, cracks, etc. So our business model is to bring this service to a client other than a service engineer flying over the world needs a hotel, work permits, etc. So we have on-demand drone inspections because we have those drones available all over the world.
I can imagine that, especially given the COVID limitations also in travel, that this is really boosting.
Yeah. So based on that, we immediately bought a few HoloLenses from your partner to expand the services in that aspect also. But indeed, so with COVID, the service business, our service business is very international. And it's really suffering from all the restrictions for international flights we see at the moment. But the drone inspection business is booming. Lots of clients want it. There's actually there's more demand than we can deliver at this moment.
Yeah, Michael, you described the 4 new services you have developed. What is the value for Knorr-Bremse, of course, but also more important for your customer?
Well, if I take energy saving as an example, the value for the customer is clear. We would like to reduce his operational expenses through energy saving. But I guess it is also very important for our customers, which are train operators like NetTrain or Deutsche Bahn. They have also some targets to fulfill in regards to their ecological footprint, to public expectations. We help them to use governmental fundings and also to meet future requirements which might come up in regards to energy consumption. So there is one tangible effect, which is really like saving energy and reducing your costs, but also intangible values we bring to the customer. For our organization, it's very much to defend our installed base and also to increase our installed base, which we can use as a service business. But also now in COVID, we are trying to shift our very periodic business to a recurring revenue stream. So COVID shows us that once you have such an external impact which you cannot manage or which you cannot avoid, then a recurring revenue stream helps you through that difficult times. Yeah, and then last but not least, of course, the upselling potential, which we would like to use once we have established a solid partnership with our customer, and it's all about collaboration.
Okay. And Martijn, how does that work for Huisman and Huisman's customers?
Yeah, actually, we'll start with the customer, of course, because we're very customer oriented. Well, so our customer delivers a very high quality report with no errors, because it's all computer based and not visually based. It's a lot easier for them. There's very little to pre-arrange for them. Normally, if we send a service engineer, then they have to book a hotel, a flight. There's lots of traveling costs, visas, etc. So now we have on demand, actually. Also for our client, your safety on board of offshore vessels is actually the highest value. And you can imagine if you want to inspect a crane that you have to climb all over the crane with safety harnesses and scaffolding, etc. So the operational cost aspect is a lot lower for our clients, and it's a lot less hassle. It's also cheaper for them. The regular service visit for inspection is 30% more expensive than a drone inspection. And it's on demand. So we have drones available in all continents. So other than flying in, you can immediately start the inspection. And normally, if we sent a service engineer on board, he did a very thorough inspection, came back in the office, and started typing his report. And this report is automatically generated, so it's available within 3 to 5 days after the inspection. And so that's normally took about 2 weeks. And then for Huisman, the advantages are very obvious. The price of a drone, it's just a regular drone. It's a DJI Pro drone. The price is 3,500 euros, so it's very low investment cost. And with this drone, we can inspect any structure we want as long as we have sufficient data. So the fun part is that we started off for cranes, of course, but the majority of the requests are coming from the building industry, especially in Singapore, where we developed it. There's a lot of skyscrapers, and those inspections, they cost a lot of money. And now also those clients find out that the drone inspection is very efficient for that. So we are expanding our market with building inspections also. Another advantage for us is that we can do inspection not only on Huisman crane, but on any other crane. And our business model was strictly focused on Huisman equipment. With this inspection, we also do third-party cranes. So then, and as said, the cost for the clients are lower, but the margin for us is significantly higher. And another big advantage is we stepped into the world of artificial intelligence algorithms. So we learn a lot on this development, which we can also use for future developments.
Okay, that's good to hear. Apparently you are, let's say, in the process of the transitioning, so from product-related service to the customer business value-related services. I can imagine there were some challenges in the development of these new services and in the rollout of it. Can you share some of the challenges you were faced with within Knorr-Bremse, Maaike?
Yeah, well, I would separate them. There are external challenges with the customer, even though the market response is very positive. So the customers are really willing to or accepting our service offerings. But the external challenge is really to find the right stakeholder within the customer organization. As Hilbrand was saying, that such a service a service agreement is made in a boardroom. So to identify the right person to talk to, that is one of the main challenges right now for us. To understand also the customer organization. And then the next fear is it's all about data. So the data exchange is enabling us to offer such a service. And right now, let's say the discussion with the customer is very difficult on exchange data, data sovereignty, how to exchange data in a scalable manner, etc. could be. I mean, that's a big topic which we are trying to tackle in a collaboration agreement with the customers and also partners. Internally, I guess that is very important for most of the audience. It's all about change management. If you ask me, if you really want to transform your service business from a product related to business oriented or customer oriented services, you will find some resistance. Personally, I had some resistance. Why do I need to change? But also the organization. We are a global market leader. We are very, let's say, proud German engineering company. So why do we have to change? Yeah, and this is a continuous effort to explain why we need to change. And you really would need to put some emphasis and focus on that point. And then, of course, obviously, there are also changes in processes, in tooling. We have a IFRS based accounting, and now you want to have a subscription model in place. So your accounting department, they are overwhelmed with such a question, or at least at Knorr-Bremse. Then you have an organizational setup to clear and to ask yourself how you want to manage digital products and services. How are the interfaces, etc. pp. So there are a lot of processes, new processes needed, new capabilities needed, etc. pp. So it's a change management process for the whole company.
Okay. Thank you. I was wondering, because you are a supplier of components, not the supplier of the whole train. Was there any challenge as well with other parties in the supply chain?
There's still a challenge. We have not solved it yet. Of course, we are a first-tier supplier. So our main customers, the car builders, the vehicle builders, they would like to use the service business as well. They have also identified that the growth in our markets sits in the service. And this is why we are talking about collaboration, data agreements, etc. pp. What is now understood in our business is really that the optimization on vehicle level needs three parts, which is the operator itself, then the car builder with the vehicle knowledge, and us with the brakes know-how. So more or less the domain knowledge. Yeah. So this is now a common understanding, and now we need to learn how to collaborate instead of, there's this new trendy word, co-opetition, right? So this is what we learn now in the industry. Okay.
Martijn, how did it look like for Huisman? So the challenges in the development of the services and the rollout of it?
Well, a lot of it is very much the same, in a very proud product-driven industry where the market, especially for the wind industry, is very booming. It's difficult to change the organization and the processes to a service-driven model because the margins on the wind cranes are quite good. There's a lot of demand. We're the market leader. Our competitors are not doing so well at the moment. It's the easiest way to go is to just follow the old product-driven route. So that was the difficult part. Another difficult part, which is very technical in my opinion, is you have to find the right knowledge and the right partner to develop this artificial intelligence. And there's lots of companies who have very promising brochures and marketing managers, but not a lot of companies who are doing well in developing the artificial intelligence such that you can actually work with it. So that was difficult, and for us it was also very difficult to draft the requirement for a tool which you really don't know in advance. So that was difficult. So what we learned is you have to be very critical in how you select your partners, especially on the aspect which is for us artificial intelligence is a black box. So all we can do is draft very proper requirements and processes and ask them to fulfill. But at least we found the proper partner. But there were 2 attempts required. And what I also learned is that we tried at first. Huisman is a very large company with a head office in Schiedam, and we have some small service offices around the world in Singapore, Rio, and Houston. And Singapore is, well, for us, Asia and Singapore is there's a lot of artificial intelligence knowledge, and so I've learned that for me it was a lot easier to develop these services in Singapore, where we only have 12 employees in this office, than to do it in Holland, where we have approximately 1,000 in the office, because everybody interferes and feels they need to mingle into the development, where in Singapore it's isolated. You can have people dedicated just for this job. So working with a small team to develop such aspect was for us very efficient.
Is that also related then to the culture, the local culture, let's say?
Well, I think definitely yes. You know, the Dutch, they typically need to be convinced that it's the right thing to do, and in Asia, if you ask somebody to do it, they just do it. So there's advantages and disadvantages, of course, but culturally, I think Asia, especially Singapore, is for us it was really beneficial to develop it there, culturally wise, but also due to the size of the company. Okay.
Well, you've shared your two lessons already. Is there a third one, or are those the main?
For me, that was the main lesson.
Yeah. And Maaike, for Knorr-Bremse?
For me, the main lesson, and I'm really thankful that Hilbrand was very persistent on that point. We involved the top management, the board members right away, right from the start. And more importantly, they were sponsors of each of them. We have 4 board members. Each of them had a sponsorship for one of the services, and we got them. We gave them a regular update, involved them, got their go further, etc. So this is something I would really recommend. If you start such a journey, involve the top management from the beginning.
Yeah, and probably a lot of communication then. If we talk about timelines, how long are we talking about? Was it a couple of months or years or?
Well, we started 2018 together with Noventum, and now we have signed the first pilots with customers. I need to say paid pilots, so it's really a full-blown service, and now we are piloting it and to see if we need to readjust before scaling the services. So it's a multiple-year journey.
Yeah.
Maybe I can add one question to this. Mike, can you tell something about the challenges of selling these new services?
For that I would need to give you some insights how the industry works. A lot of tenders, or let's say it is very much tender driven and public tenders. So that means we would need to change also the tender requirements to offer something different. So this is one part. The other part is if we have private customers, then we really need to understand the customer journey and when to kick in and to approach the customer and who to approach. And it's a very consulting-driven sales process. Where you need to consult the customer. Sometimes he doesn't even know that there is a demand, so you need to create a demand, and show the benefit, the value you bring to the customer. So it's a different selling approach, and this is one of the challenges ahead. We need to transform our sales force out there in 30 countries. So right now they are really selling spare parts, which is different from selling value-added services.
Okay, very good. If you see, because you're now in the pilots, do you see that some countries are reacting differently or picking up things faster, and can you see why that is?
No, we are not seeing a trend that one region is picking up faster. It is some services are different in other regions. Yeah, so China has different requirements to Europe. The US is very much similar in asking the same services like Europe. So I wouldn't say that this, or let's say the speed is the same, but maybe the service is slightly different.
Okay, all right, good, thanks. Just Martijn, a question to you. I think it's very interesting that you have, let's say, developed a new service which initially was like technology driven. So I think it's in a company obviously dominated by a lot of engineers. It's a very typical approach. Now, do you see that that is also leading to more consciousness in the organization about the potential for new services?
Yeah, well, I can see that we had a change in CEO just 2 months ago, where the old owner Joop stepped down and handed the business to his son David, who is 35 years old. And if I went, Joop was one of the guys who still owned a Nokia telephone. So digital transformations, etc., were not his piece of cake. But you see that our new CEO and our board is very enthusiastic about a drone development. And for me, the drone development was typically a driver to convince the board that we should go to a service-orientated business model. And with this new modern board, I think the chances to succeed have increased a lot.
Okay, so I think it's difficult to turn that around in a piece of advice. Like it would sound like not change management, but change the management, kind of. So let's not do that. But maybe there's a good moment to allow the audience some questions, if there are questions.
Yeah, if you want to have a question for the people, you can either put it in the chat, or you can even open up your microphone and speak if you want, and ask questions to your peers.
Yeah, it's always very intimidating to ask a question in a very large group. What I would suggest in the meantime is we have prepared a small poll. Should we do that first? So it's a very short questionnaire we're asking you to fill out, where we have listed the lessons learned of our speakers, and would be interesting to see if these lessons are like recognizable. Can we pull that off right now, Erik?
I think so. So if you go to your chat window, as I'm showing now, you see there is a poll. And as Hilbrand said, which of the lessons shared by Maaike and Martijn? So we learned on involving top management. We heard about good change management. We heard about the other challenges, but and also the local knowledge, for instance. What is for you the lessons for you the most valuable for your company? You can select one and then submit the vote. You can even select more if you want. So you see people are now voting. So it's building up the answers. See, there were no questions so far.
Well, actually, there is one question, which is a question for Martijn. Can you say something about how successful, in terms of let's say economical terms, like growth, your service has been so far?
Yeah, I can do that. Specifically on the new service offer, we are. It's difficult to tell, but all I can tell is that we have a lot of demand for this new service, and the revenue is a bit lower, but the margin is significantly higher. So we expect a minimum 100% increase of services to carry out. So the exact, I'm not going to tell the exact figures, but yeah, it looks like double the amount of inspections with minimum 30% more profit.
So one other question that was asked. So are you not cannibalizing your own services here? Because you said it will reduce the need for field engineers that do inspections.
Yeah, but Hilbrand, so our vision is that in the future we will not sell service on demand or inspection on demand. In the future we will sell uptime to our clients. In the offshore, the uptime of your equipment is of high value because they all work for contractors, and vessels have a very high day rate. Somewhere between 50,000 euros a day for a small supplier to 1 million euro per day for a drill rig, or even higher for a large crane crane bars like the Sleipnir. So every day a client is off contract because of a technical issue, which can be a crack, a deformation, or anything else. They lose their day rate, and they lose a lot of money. So if you can only save, for instance, on the Sleipnir 1 day per year of operation, that's worth well over 1 million. So our future model will be to sell uptime in service level agreements other than the services we deliver now. So in that aspect, that's the enabler to develop services like this. So in the end, we will not sell a drone inspection, but we will sell the drone inspection with a service level agreement.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
I actually could confirm the same. So this is actually a regular question, cannibalizing your own service market, and internal questions. And this is also what we are going for, and more to a pay-per-use or a kilometer per or a euro value per kilometer service level agreement.
Yeah. So more outcome based.
Yeah.
And another thing, Hilbrand, I strongly feel that if we don't develop it for our equipment, somebody else will develop it for our equipment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the first mover advantage is very significant.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably true for both companies. One other question from the audience is, maybe we'll start with you on that question, Maaike. So how do you prevent the customer linking, let's say, the value that you provide, so the price, for example, that you ask, to the effort that you have to make?
It's a difficult question because our customers, they've been with us for decades, and they know the price level, for example, for spare parts, for maintenance overhaul, etc. So this is why we are offering kind of hybrid services with a classical bit of piece, like a spare part plus an additional value, which we are trying to, from a pricing perspective, we are trying to get a feeling for the benefit we are giving to the customer. So, and more to to have a value-based pricing approach. So this is new to Knorr, and we are just starting. In terms of linking back to effort, this is really something which I guess the customer has no visibility on our side. What is the effort for condition-based maintenance alerts? For if Martijn was saying something about AI technology. I mean, this is something we have still ahead of us, to use AI technology for preventive or predictive maintenance alerts, etc. This is right now not really transparent to the customer. So this is the advantage we are trying to use here to really have that pricing level accepted.
Yeah. Okay. So that sort of value-driven approach, so explaining not just the hard business case of euros or dollars, Martijn, but also more talking about, let's say, the intangible values, or at least appealing to the intangible values. Is that also something that is applicable in your case?
Yes. Well, as I said, the drone inspection is an enabler to sell the uptime, and so then you look at what's the value for the client more than what is the cost for outbound. So if we can save 3 operational days for a large crane vessel like the Sleipnir, then we know that the value for the client is well over 3 million. Okay. And that's where we base price levels on.
But you also have, so one is pricing, but do you see there is a shift in the conversation with the customer also about the sort of the intangible value of your services?
Yeah, well, there is a shift, but it's just started, and that's also because of in my opinion, 1.5, 2 years ago, we recognized that we should think differently. So then we, in our vision, is in our vision we clearly say that that we need to make our clients' operation better. And if we make our clients' operation better, then we have the right to exist and to get sufficient margin. And from that date back, we started talking to clients on a different level. Like, how can we help you optimizing your operation other than do you need a service engineer?
Okay, yeah. We got lots of good questions from the audience. So one is, how do you, I think particularly for you, actually, I see 2 questions for you, particularly Mike, as I know now a little bit your business. How do you sell this pay-per-use or outcome-based offers services in an industry where tendering and public bidding is the norm?
Yeah, I actually see 3 questions which I can answer. The tendering business, it's already a vehicle manufacturer has to bid already a kind of pay-per-use or a euro per kilometer value. But right now it's more an indication over the life cycle cost and not a really hard commitment he's giving. And this is now changing with the liberalization of the different markets. So all the operators have a very high cost driver or cost pressure, and they have also to commit also to a euro valued per kilometer. And so this is something which Knorr-Bremse was refusing, and now we convinced the management to give such a commitment, because we believe that we can manage the costs of, for example, the brake, we can manage it better than someone else. And this is why we also expanded that service model, not to our end customer, the operator, but now we are also promoting it in the direction of the vehicle manufacturer.
Okay, right. So let's say if everything else is equal, if your offer is equal, eventually, even with the new services that you have developed, you may be getting competition. Do you believe that your company is still able to differentiate itself from that competition?
Yeah, I mean, once we launch such a service also in a vehicle manufacturing contract, then also our biggest competitors will join us. But we believe that with the whole Knorr-Bremse portfolio, I mean, we are not only supplying brakes, but also air conditioning, door or entrance systems, etc. I guess we have a better value to give to the customer. So yes, I truly believe we have a better offering.
Yeah. Now, Eric, I see that there were some challenges with the poll.
Yeah.
Not everybody could answer it. That's correct, right, Eric?
Yeah, that's what I understood. I apologize for that. It's apparently we tested it within the HSO tenant. It worked, but not outside apparently. So I apologize for that.
So what we'll probably do is we make sure that we get everybody the end result afterwards. Maybe we now see that people are really starting to come up with all kinds of very good questions. It almost justifies another webinar because these are very interesting questions. Now, unfortunately, I think that we are almost at the end of the hour, Eric. So maybe it's time to put up the last slide where we show the reference. Obviously, do not hesitate to contact either Eric or myself. We will also be able to answer, I think, a lot of these questions that are now being posed, or we can have another call about it. I think, Eric, would you like to close?
Yeah, well, first of all, the big thank you to Maaike and Martijn for sharing their experience with us. Of course, a big thank you to you as well, Hilbrand, for helping us realizing this research together with Microsoft as well. As Hilbrand said in the beginning, of course, you are invited to have a look at the podcast series on it. If you don't have the report yet, you can get it, including a recording of this webinar and the slide deck used. You can get that as well. Yeah, I again like to thank all of the people attending for being interactive and also raising questions. As Hilbrand said, if we did not have the time to respond to all, we will do that later on to you. And yeah, with that, I'd like to close the webinar and wish you all a very good day and the rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.